Hello out there, salut, tous, und hallo, leute. Today is the day that I start my language learning channel. Yeah. Something that I wanted to do last year, but it just didn't work out. I'm sure that's understandable to most people. So this is my first video, and I think it's perfect timing because it is time to set language goals, language learning goals for 2021. I can't believe it's 2021 already. Anyway, so Happy New Year, Bonne Année, und frohes neues Jahr, I think. So first things first, my native language is English, and the languages that I'm studying now are French and German. I think French and German are two very beautiful languages. So this video is just about setting goals, pretty much, and starting the channel, setting goals for 2021 for language learning. So in terms of last year, I was just mostly using Duolingo's lessons, and I was all about maintaining my Duolingo streak. So Duolingo was a very easy way for me to consistently do something every day for language learning. And that was my main goal, just do something every day toward, my target languages. I always just feel like I could be farther along with German, but I'm probably being too hard on myself. When I first started using it, I was doing, I was getting like a crown a day, so that I was doing like the whole circle. So that might be like 5 lessons to make, I guess it might be a level. I don't know the terminology, I should learn it. And that was going good for a while, but then, when everything started happening with the pandemic, I was just doing like 1 lesson a day. 1 lesson a day for French, 1 lesson a day for German. So yeah, my productivity was definitely not the greatest. I did have, some other goals that I was able to, accomplish or work toward. And one of them was to document my learning. So I had wanted to start a YouTube channel, but like I said, I was like, it's gonna be too much. So I did end up just recording some of my lessons that I did in Duolingo, and I wrote a couple of, like journal entries, or if I learned something new, just tried to write it down, or if there was something that I wanted to follow up on, wrote that down also. That was, so that goal was like, I met it, but I wish it would have been a little bit more, so hopefully, I do better with that one. I also wanted to be more intentional about watching German movies and shows. That was mostly just on Netflix. I mean, I'd always watch foreign films, but I feel like it was just random or French. And I was never looking for German language films at all. Another goal was to gather resources for learning both languages. Just gather them, if somebody says something was a good resource, then I would just bookmark it or write it down, whether it was a book or a website or a podcast, doesn't matter, just gathering them so that once I, start being able to understand more, or if I just want to change it up for Duolingo, I would have something else to use. And then I really wanted to attend some language learning events. I use meetup.com here and there, so I think there's at least a French meetup group, French language meetup group in my area. I don't know if there's a German meetup group in my area, but I feel like I looked and there was, but I'll have to go back and check. A lot has changed, with the pandemic and stuff, so hopefully those groups exist, they're still there, and they will be there for next year, or I should say for this year. So all of those were my goals. I think those were 5, right? So it was do something every day for language learning, document my language learning, be more intentional about watching German language TV shows and movies, gather resources for learning both of the languages, and attend language learning events. So I think all of those are mostly, they were done and done, I guess you could say. All in all, pretty productive, good year with language learning. And so now, for this year, for 2021, drum roll, right? I think actually for 2021 that my goals are going to largely be the same, at least high level. I want to continue to document my language learning, and that's going to change a little bit because now I'm hoping to be posting every week to this channel, just to say what I've learned and share any progress and things like that. Whereas last year I was just recording basically so that I'd be able to hear myself from day one to the current. I have also just started using a notebook. So when I was doing Duolingo, I didn't feel like I needed a notebook, although I will say I probably could have used one. So I just started using a notebook when I go to the events. They're all online, so at least for now. So just started using a notebook, and it's kind of all chicken scratch, but the whole thing is, I was thinking that I would revisit the notes and make something useful of it. I still want to do something toward language learning every day. I think this year though it'll be more like, don't make it all Duolingo. And when I say don't make it all Duolingo, I really mean not just the lessons. So they have stories, they have some podcasts, at least for the French language, and again they have the events, but I do also want to do something that isn't in the Duolingo sphere, I guess. So that might mean just taking a day or two out for maybe doing translation of a news article or a song or something like that, or I don't know, learning things that I am not learning in the Duolingo tree at the moment. I also want to continue watching media, TV shows, movies, things like that in my target languages. So some of the shows that I watched last year were, so for French it was Nailed It, which hopefully it's just called Nailed It France. But yeah, Nailed It France. I watched the Hookup Plan. I also watched Criminal France, and I feel like I watched other things, but I just don't remember what they are at the moment. If I watched other things, I'll just put it in the down below in the description. So then for German, I watched Freud. I watched Wer kann, der kann. So that's Nailed It Germany. I watched Skylines, and I watched Dogs of Berlin. And I watched Criminal Germany also. For this year, I know that there are probably a ton more films that I can watch. I haven't seen, I think it's called Call My Agent. That is in my queue, but I haven't watched it. And then for German, I know that there's the show, I think it's a show called Dark. I don't know if I can handle that. It might be too scary for me, but I don't know. It seemed like it was scary, but maybe it's more suspense than horror. So I'm gonna take a look at that. And then there was also Babylon Berlin. Yeah. And then We Are the Wave, I think. And again, if they come out with another Wer kann, der kann, I'm gonna be all over it. If you have any suggestions for German or French shows, movies, podcasts, even news channels, let me know. I will totally take a look at them. So that actually flows very well into my next my next goal, which is to, continue gathering resources for language learning. In addition to just listing things out, I actually want to go back and review some of the ones that I already listed out so that I can make a determination of whether it would be useful for me now or maybe later when I know more, or is it really a beginner resource? That kind of thing. Just review it and put some sort of description or intent around it. Or maybe I say, yeah, this isn't for me, and I, just don't use it in the future. And then the last one from that was still kind of from 2020 is to just keep attending language learning events. If I can find one that is not on Duolingo, I will do that. If the ones for meetup.com come back, or I did see some language learning conferences that were out there. So then the only other ones, they're kind of like two new ones, which are the first one is to fill in the gaps. Since I started going to these events, or even when you're just using the Duolingo app, you realize that there are things you don't know. So like, for example, I don't know how to count to 100 in German. I don't know the colors. I don't know the alphabet. I don't know the days of the week or the months of the year, things like that. And I'm sure that somewhere in the, the learning tree, they, go over those. Well, I'm not sure, but I'm assuming they do. But I'm just not there yet, and it would be really helpful to know how to count. So those are things, that I can fill in. I can fill in those gaps. And so the last one is to find and participate in a language challenge. So yeah, that is it for me. I think that summarizes my goals. I hope to come back every week and just give an update on how everything's going and progress and things like that. So thanks for watching. See you later. À plus. Und tschüss.